What is the deep state and how does it affect our Iraqi dinar investment? In the world of U.S. President Donald Trump, it has come to mean the civil servants who have been working for the government for years. Trump says the deep state are holdovers from previous administrations blocking his agenda and policy reversals. He is fighting the powers that be. President Reagan complained that this dominant group is more powerful than the presidency, the judiciary, and the Congress. So you can see how I was surprised when a few viewers said in the comment section that I was deep state. I never understood this accusation until now. Let's look at the video clip so that you can understand without confusion.
Is the deep state real?
Is the deep state real? There's this moment in the 60s where you really see how this actually works, where power really is. To the height of this moment where the US and the Soviet Union are in this massive staring contest. There's nuclear weapons involved. Everyone thinks the entire globe could be wiped out in this conflict. And Cuba is centered right in the middle of it all, right off the coast of the US, but they're on the Soviet side of the conflict. And to push back on all of this, the Soviets actually start shipping nuclear weapons to the island. The US has no idea until one day a spy plane is flying over the island and they snap this photo. This looks like a random field in Cuba, but you zoom in and you see canvas tents, trailers, missile launch equipment. The US government immediately knows what they're looking at here. The world's most destructive weapons are actually hiding under these tents, ready to launch, sitting right in the United States' backyard, right off their coast. Nuclear war 103 miles away.
Unmistakable evidence has established the fact that a series of offensive missile sites is now in preparation on that imprisoned island.
It's a crisis, a Cuban missile crisis. And one man in Washington, D.C. suddenly has a really difficult decision to make. Everyone around him wants him to invade Cuba, but he's not sure. Okay, but here's the kicker of the whole thing. Instead of stay at work that night and figure out this crisis with his advisors, Kennedy gets in a car and travels across town to a cocktail party. He came here to a house in Georgetown, the home of Joe Alsop, one of the nation's most influential newspaper columnists. It was the eve of nuclear war, and the President of the United States kept his dinner date in Georgetown. And the reason why is because at that party were the people he trusted, the people who really had power in Washington during that time. Most of them lived here, in this neighborhood, many of them side by side, all within a few blocks. William Colby, the Far East chief of the CIA. He would later become the director of the agency. Chip Bolin, a former ambassador to the Soviet Union. Allen Dulles, Allen Dulles, where to even start? He's the CIA's longest running director, and he lived right here in Georgetown. Frank Wiesner, one of the founding officers of the CIA. He lived just 6 blocks away. Felix Frankfurter, a Supreme Court justice, just a couple minutes walk away. And Kennedy himself had a house in this neighborhood. The reason JFK kept his date in Georgetown that night was because this is where power in Washington was. On the other side of town from the Capitol building, the seat of American democracy. The decisions were being made here by unelected men who had an immense amount of secret power. These were powerful men who were not elected or accountable. But here in Georgetown, it had moved beyond anything the designers of the country could have predicted, into a shadowy, separate part of our government, a deep state that was actively blackmailing the Congress and working to undermine the President of the United States, and being horrifyingly successful at it.
Unelected deep state operatives who defy the voters to push their own secret agendas.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
See how the video clip goes between unelected men of power to the Central Intelligence Agency. That was a bridge over water. The deep state, the people in control, can only be the bureaucracy or unelected men of power. And which side does the CIA belong to? Probably both. But hold on. What is the federal bureaucracy? Federal bureaucracy refers to the government units and agencies that implement, administer, and regulate the laws and policies made by Congress and the President. It consists of over 500 different agencies and departments and over 3 million employees.
That there is an ongoing group of people who continue the work of government as administrations come and go. Is it possible for these entities to go rogue? Absolutely.
Was the agency involved in the kind of domestic surveillance that has been portrayed in the news reports?
My feeling is that it has not.
As viewers of this channel, here's what I want to share with you, regardless of your age, color, background, or origin. The so-called deep state, or the cabal, as you call it, has the inside track. This means they have information from the beginning of civilization to now. Information is power. Without the inside track, you can run into serious darkness in your life because humanity has not always been pretty. Bitcoin is trying to overcome the inside track. But here is the question that affects us. If I had to guess, I would say that the deep state does not, I repeat, want us to have wealth from our investment in the Iraqi dinar. Why? Because it would become too difficult for them to continue to control us. We are the ones they do not want to give power to. Look at it this way. If there were 1 million Iraqi dinar investors, only 1% of us will make a difference with a high ROI on our investment. That means 10,000 of us would thrive. Now, don't tell me it's not feasible, because Iraq's currency only has to increase in value to 1 or 2 cents for most of us to receive a 6-figure payout. So when I make videos that imply that Iraq will go on to readjust its currency, and we may not be privileged to participate in the profits. This is where I am coming from. Iraq readjusting its currency does not mean the country will join the global financial platforms. Saddam never did, and his currency was worth 1 dinar to $3 US. Yes, we know that by joining the WTO and updating their banking system, they will be able to interconnect internationally. But will they allow the people in Iraq to connect with the people outside of Iraq on the Forex market? The overall question is, when will Iraq be able to increase the value of their currency? The deep state is real. Like the presidents, they come and go, but the deep state, they are real. They stay in their jobs for 20 years and they are powerful. And this may be why the government agencies do not allow their appointed leadership into the inner circle, because in 4 to 8 years, they will be gone.
Hi, I'm Steve Clements, and I have a question. What is the dangerous and murky deep state that President Trump keeps talking about? Let's get to the bottom line.
The link to the 2 video clips are in the description.